Hey, welcome back to the Ping Pong Flick Show. My name is Chris Wong. This is pretty much the last video of the year for me of 2018 as we head on into 2019. Wow, what a year has it been? It's been quite a year. It's one Snyder Cut short of being a fantastic year, but we did get Aquaman, and Aquaman turned out to be fantastic. I got to watch it again today with my boy, who's now a huge Aquaman fan. I mean, he went to he doesn't wear jeans, long pants. He always wears shorts, but he's been wearing jeans, long pants jeans now. And so when we went to watch Aquaman today, he wanted to go shirtless. Like, no, you got to put a shirt on. I'm sorry. So he put a shirt on, but he wore jeans there, and he absolutely loved Aquaman. He wants to be Aquaman. He said, don't cut his hair short. He wants to grow it out. And I'm like, but this is not happening. He says he told me just draw it in, draw on the beard and mustache. So I'm like, all right, okay, cool. But I mean, by January he'll turn 7. But awesome. It's great to see children picking this up, like how I picked up Richard Donner's Superman back in the day, and I wanted to be Superman. Now I think this guy wants to be Aquaman, and he's kind of burly in that way. But anyway, watch it again. It gets better and better because you start to forgive the Pitbull song and things like that, and so it gets better and better. You can actually get into more emotion. I choked up again when spoiler alert. Well, I won't mention it, but I choked up again when Jason Momoa's Arthur meets somebody again towards the end of the film, and that really choked me up. But those little things pop out a lot more, and you forgive the smaller things, and that's great. And so I think Aquaman is still fantastic, rewatchable. Just definitely, I want to watch it again, but we'll see what happens. In any case, Aquaman was a huge success. It's an incredible success. After this second weekend, it only went down like 29% from weekend to weekend. Fantastic. Most studios would wish for like 50% and no more than 60% in order to be acceptable. And it did, and knocked that out of the park. It made like $51 million this weekend, which is a phenomenal legs, fins or legs. But it's quite an achievement, and the worldwide total came out to like 749 million estimated right now, but it's probably that much. So by Monday, over 750 for sure. By next weekend, 800. It's a far gone conclusion. This baby is gonna reach $1 billion. It's gonna reach $1 billion. Our first DCEU film to reach $1 billion. The first Warner Brothers movies to reach $1 billion since The Hobbit. This is quite an achievement, and it's a great, phenomenal job to everybody there, including James Wan, Jason Momoa, Amber Heard, Patrick Wilson. I can name all the names there. Yahya Abdul-Mateen. It's an incredible achievement for that, and of course, it's an incredible achievement for all the producers and stuff, especially executive producers Zack Snyder and Deborah Snyder. As it is, James Wan did confirm that he got Zack's blessing with the first initial cut that he made, the director's cut that Zack Snyder had watched after he put everything together after the first shoot. And so the principal photography was done and everything like that. So he got to see it, approved it, gave him his blessing, and that should quell people saying that Zack Snyder wouldn't want this. No, he pretty much talked to James Wan, and they worked it together, and this is what came out. Now, Aquaman's script was done before for Justice League, or it was in the process of being made for Justice League. So there are things here and there that when I watched Aquaman again, it doesn't really match up with Justice League. Of course, we know the Justice League that we see in theaters is actually Joss Whedon's Justice League, but there are moments in there that could particularly pertain to the Snyder Cut, as some people have watched. If it's well, we're still debating if those are reshoots or not reshot. I'd like to look at the periodic table that of Justice League that John Aaron had made. I encourage you to look at those videos as we end this year. But in any case, I think both DC Films Hub and Screen Rant, especially Steve M. Colbert, had pointed out that the success of Aquaman could actually possibly pave way to Justice League. And I want to talk a little bit about that, because that is an interesting concept that I've kind of touched upon before. But I like how these two blog sites are really tapping into that. Something that maybe even the people who are trying not to trying to boycott Aquaman still yet, and saying that Aquaman is not the Vision and stuff like that, it could maybe appease them, or maybe get them to turn around about this. But in this case, it's gonna, if it beats $1 billion, say Aquaman, and it's a far gone conclusion, it's going to reach $1 billion. What could that possibly mean for the Justice League? Financially, it means that a director-driven film works. Okay, not a film by committee, which was Justice League. Because Justice League did all those reshoots, it doubled its budget, and it made it didn't make money at all, right? Because it was like $300 million budget, maybe even more, plus the advertising stuff. It only made like $660 million in the box office on the whole entire take. Look at Aquaman; it beat that already. All right, so. It knocked it out of the park. It beat Suicide Squad and everything else at 750 right now, only in its second week. Of course, it got out internationally first, which is a smart move, by the way. And so we can look at that and says, okay, well, the Warner Brothers may look at it and say, okay, well, director-driven films are financially more successful when filmed by committee. And that, I mean, in all fairness, they knew that, and that's why they, in a politically way, fired John Berg, Jeff Johns, Sue Crow, all these other people in the who was part of that Justice League, Joss Whedon. However they want to spin it, it is exactly what happened. And so that's why that we got in Walter Hamada. And so you look at that Justice League, critical failure, financial failure, it didn't have the legs and things like that. Aquaman comes out. Sure, the critics are not exactly in love with it, but the audience loves it. The box office is showing that the audience loves it, and DC film fans are going back to watch it in theater. So there's that. As in terms of the financial and audience appeal, it has that, and it has that. It's being a one vision. It's director driven. Sure, it had a lot of people helping out with the script and with the world lore and stuff, but essentially it was James Wan's film, and that's where we want to go off with. Wonder Woman was a success. It was Patty Jenkins' film, James Wan's film. Everything like that didn't have too much in hand in it. Man of Steel is arguably a very good film as well. For me, it's incredible masterpiece, and for a lot of people, it's a lot less divisive than Batman v Superman. Now, Batman v Superman theatrical was touched by the studio, so I wonder how that would have fared if the Ultimate Edition came out. Might not have been fared too much more highly than the theatrical cut, but I think it would have fared a little bit more in terms of people understanding what was going on. But in any case, Justice League, not good. Aquaman, very good. And in those cases, also, Screen Rant did point out that the way Aquaman came out, the way the Aquaman story was, it doesn't actually take away the Justice League, meaning that's not true. Although there are some little instances about Aquaman's mother, but we can write that off for a second here. But it does can connect to both the Justice League that Joss Whedon put out and possibly the Justice League that Snyder put out. So that's a good thing. I mean, it doesn't dispel the theatrical version too much, very little maybe, but it doesn't also dispel the Snyder Cut. So we have that going for us. That in terms of canon, in terms of fitting in, if Snyder Cut was ever to be released, the studio shouldn't be fearful that it won't connect to their current movies, because largely Aquaman can be pretty much standalone by itself with small references. It does reference Man of Steel with that, and I saw that in the theater this time. And all other homages and things like that. But in terms of connectivity, Snyder Cut would fit well. The most current version, I believe, would fit well with this. So they have that going for them. One, they got a critical success in Aquaman with an executive producer, Zack Snyder, which brings me to the point of how much money would Zack and Zebra Snyder's take on $1 billion movie? Like, after all the payments and whatever expenses, after what is left, how much would they get from that? And I think it spells a good reason that they'll get some residuals for the movie, because they are part of the project. Of course, everybody else as well, Jeff Johns, John Berg, whatever, they all had a hand in it. Wonder Woman 84, he's not just an executive producer, he's an actual producer, so he may be expected to get more. So that's interesting in itself that his name is on here. So in terms of, should we support Aquaman? Should we support Wonder Woman 84 with Zack Snyder's name on it? I'd say absolutely, because if he's actually capitalizing on these projects, then maybe we should let him capitalize on his projects. Because maybe, I don't know, maybe he could use that money to fund something, Would it to fund other future projects, fund his own company, or fund himself, or whatever? But in order to help Zack Snyder, and maybe he would put that into finishing the cut. Maybe. You never know. I mean, I'm just thinking about money-wise. If he's making money off of Aquaman, if he's making money off of Wonder Woman 84, he could utilize that money to fund something that he needs to finish, or something new. If there is something new down the line in terms of the DCEU, who knows? But more importantly, Warner Brothers already looking like this is cash. This is money all over the place. We got the money to fund it. We could make a little bit more money on Justice League. We have a version out there that's maybe probably 80% complete. If we put a little money into a 20% and pull it out to the public, and people want to see it, it looks like people want to see it in terms of a lot of social media that's happening right now, the amount of people, the letters we sent out, to them, we're just a whole bunch of customers, and if they see there are a whole bunch of customers that want to see it, they're interested or even perked and interested about it, including Aquaman's success, including Jason Momoa's really saying he really wants to see it too, maybe Jim Lee, who supported Zack Snyder, and I believe he still does, maybe he wants to get it out too. There are so many different aspects in order to push a Snyder Cut to being released. And the success of Aquaman is a huge part of that, whether you like that or not. It seems to be a huge part of that push. And so I believe, because we're going to hit that $1 billion mark, it's going to open up a lot of possibilities, open a lot of hope. Hope actually provided with logic, in terms of like Dave and I could actually really go in on this without just the hope and the logic. It could pave way to something incredible, and it will be incredible achievement for the DCEU and for the fans of Zack Snyder and the people who want to see the Snyder Cut. All right, and it's getting out there. I mean, you see that tweet from Fandom the other day. They have over 100,000 followers, and they tweeted out a nice, incredible, nice fan art. And it could be trolling us, but it is getting attention regardless. It is an incredible box art of what the Snyder Cut, and I believe that in case of other cuts out there that were thought of and talked about, Snyder Cut seems to be a much more possibility of coming out than any other thing. I know they want to call it a pipe dream, whatever. They're not talking about that now. I don't know if they were ignore it, but they're not saying anything about it now, and I wonder why. Why are these bloggers suddenly pretty quiet about that, about the Snyder Cut? Even some of them actually says, "Let's do it." Really, hashtag release the Snyder Cut. So I'm very optimistic for 2019, and if not for 2019, 2020. I think we're going to hear a lot more. I feel it. I feel in my heart. I don't know anything. I have no sources. Sources can be wrong. There's like Mario Robles has a source that says there was going to be something big coming out at the end of the year. It is the end of the year. We have nothing. So who knows? But at least, right? At least we may be getting some great news, maybe when Aquaman becomes a success, it finishes his run. Maybe after Shazam as well finishes his run. Who knows how long the studio wants to wait in order to do any type of announcement? Who knows? But support it. Support DCEU, because that's where the money is going to come from. That's where they're going to put they have a little pot that says this is the DC films. They have a pot for Harry Potter. It's all from Warner Brothers, but I believe in terms of projects base, all the capital money comes from there. So if the money in DCU is enough and they're able to spread some of that, or maybe Zack Snyder is keeping some of that to put into other projects, it would be good to support that pot. Especially now when they have proven that a director-driven film works. A film by committee doesn't. And this universe that Zack Snyder has created can still work. Whatever hitting off point can still work. And I think that's something we should be commended and should be fed. The money tells the studios what direction should go in, and I think this is helping a lot. And in terms of, we'll leave it this way. In terms of what I believe, after all said and done, all these different theories of the Snyder Cut and what Snyder Cut is, I always go back to that Kevin Smith video, and it's a little bullet points here and there, and some are kind of weirdly out there, like Cyborg dying, but I like to hit on those points, and you can go ahead and watch it again. And I believe that is possibly the last known version of Snyder Cut before the Joss Whedon reshoots happened, before he stepped down. And if you look at that, you kind of guess how that flowed. It may have been a little bit, it is a little bit more delved into the personalities and individuals of each character, and it broadens the depth of the story a little bit better, and it actually adds in connective tissue with Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, the nightmare scene, Dark Side, and hinting at future possibilities. There is a lot there to be had. There's a lot there that can be still connected to the continuity, and it will make money because people will be totally going into that. And if that, like Kevin Smith said and Fat Man said, they should just release it, and they think they will, because people may see and this as, hey, that works. And we messed up, Warner Brothers messed up, but they've fixed the committee now. We're gonna go back to director driven films, so let's go see it. Let's see what Zack Snyder had in mind. and possibly make a little bit more money off of that. But most importantly, keep us all happy, right? Keep us all have faith in the DCU and such. So that is it. That is it. All I want to say for the end of the year, guys. 2018 is over. I hope you all had a wonderful year, and I'll definitely will continue. I'll continue to make videos next year, of course. Continue fighting for the Snyder Cut, of course, until it finally comes out. And I hope you all stay with me. But next year has been incredible. We got Shazam. We got Godzilla, King of the Monsters. We also have that Joker film. And most importantly, I mean, well, not most importantly, but also equally important is San Diego Comic-Con, where we get to see if there is anything new that the DCEU or the Monsterverse wants to tease us. Godzilla vs. Kong, possibly a teaser or a trailer. Birds of Prey is starting production, possibly of a teaser or trailer. A trailer for Wonder Woman 84. News about Batman, news about Superman, Supergirl, any of those movies. New Gods. It's gonna be an incredible year, I guess. We're gonna have some more ups and downs and things like that, but looking forward to it. All right, guys. Well, that is it for tonight. The last night for 2018 for me, and for everyone. So that is it. I'm signing out. Have a wonderful, happy new year. Stay safe, be safe out there, and I'll see you next year. Goodbye.